Hi, welcome to BPTV. I'm your host Andy Amrine, and this is another one of our Handy Andy segments. And today the weather's getting a little cooler, the grass is starting to come back, but we're going to talk about what to do in the yards. It's been a tough summer, been a drought, dead grass, so we're going to go through the steps of what to do this time of year in the fall of restoring your yard to a nice lush green color. Fall is actually the best time to plant grass seed, and there's different reasons for it. When it comes to the fall season, we've gone through a nice hot long summer, and the ground temperature is at its height for the year itself, where some people think, okay, let's just plant grass in the spring. That's fine, but it's a little more challenging because in spring the ground temperature is colder and grass seed germinates in the warm ground temperature. It's not so much the air temperature, it's the ground temperature itself. So planting grass in the spring, you just coming off that long winter, the ground temperature is, like I said, pretty cold. Now fall, we've had a very, very hot summer and our ground temperature is up there at the 60, 65, 70 degree temperature, and that's ideal for that grass seed to be germinating itself. And that's why we love planting grass in the fall, because the ground temperature, you follow the right process for it, the grass is going to germinate and you're going to have a nice germination of the grass before the frost comes, before the winter comes, and then come spring itself, you're going to be starting the year with a great looking yard instead of thinking, well, how am I going to get this grass looking green? But this fall, we've had a lot more challenges because we had a drought this summer, and a lot of people can't afford to be running a sprinkler all summer long to be keeping the grass watered. But also there's different issues with different types of grass. So if you had a nice durable type grass or the deep root growing grass, you may have gotten some brown patches, but when the cooler weather came and the rain started again, it turned green again. But as you can see in some areas, this was not the drought resistant type of yard, drought resistant type of grass. So we have a lot of dead patches, dead thatch, dead grass mixed in through some other seed that is germinating. So the type of things that we're going to have to look at is preparing the yard, preparing the soil for planting the grass itself. And right now we're at the beginning of September, so it's proper to prepare everything, preparing the soil and get everything ready for that last week of September, early October, when it is actually the premium time of year to be putting that grass seed down. So what I want to show you is how aerating helps, how thatching helps, and also how using a couple products like Love Your Soil and Magical that prepare the soil for the planting time. What an aerator does is an aerator plugs holes into the yard itself. An aerator, big machine, motor, these teeth rotate, and as the teeth rotate, they dig down into the ground and they plug it. And when they plug it, it pulls out the dirt plug. You leave the plugs on the yard itself, and they quickly, in a matter of a few days, are going to deteriorate and go back into the soil itself. But what this will allow is oxygen to get down through the surface of the grass itself, the surface of the yard, and also if you are overseeding, the seed is going to get down into the plugs itself. Because as you know, if you just take grass seed, throw it on the surface, it doesn't really grow. The grass seed has to be covered by dirt to insulate it, protect it, hold the moisture, hold the nutrition, and help the roots to grab hold and grow. So aerating is a good thing to do Fall is a big time to do the aeration on it. You're plugging the yard, putting all the oxygen, the air's in it, and it also helps to loosen the soil for the yard to accept the seed and grow better. This lovely machine is called a thatcher. It's a dethatcher. It removes thatch from the yard itself. Some yards need that aeration. A lot of yards don't need the aeration, but they do need the thatch that builds up into a soil removed. So what this machine does is it has a whole bunch of springs, which we'll show you, and those springs go over top of the soil and they pull out all the dead grass. If you get too much a blanket of thatch built up on the yard itself underneath the grass you see, it'll prevent water, it'll prevent the seed, it'll prevent fertilizer or anything getting down to the soil itself. So you run the dethatcher over top of it, and what it'll do is pull out all this dead grass, so you got a good surface area to take care of that fall yard work. So let me show you what it does. Here's thatch. This is the thatch that the spring tines that are rotating will pick up out of the surface of the yard without destroying the yard, but it gets all that dead grass out and up to the surface. Could either run over with a lawnmower or pick it up with a rake, and then it's going to allow all the new seed and the new fertilizer to get deep down into the soil itself, so everything takes hold and you're going to have a healthy yard again. Next, what I want to talk about is healthy soil. Healthy soil, you have a healthy yard. If you have unhealthy soil, you could be putting down all the seed and fertilizer you want and it does absolutely nothing. So we need to make the soil healthy, and everything in the soil revolves around the pH level of your soil itself. And that's what I want to talk about with this first product. This first product made by Jonathan Green is called Mag-I-Cal. Mag-I-Cal raises the pH of the soil. When you have pH level in your soil that is at 6.5, that is ideal for grass to grow. When you have pH levels that is about 3, 3.5, you have weeds and no grass. So if you have a yard that has a lot of dandelions, not a lot of green grass, put on Mag-I-Cal. It's going to raise the pH to where grass grows and weeds won't grow. Then in time, when you keep that pH level balanced at that 6.5, you never even have to use weed and feeds anymore, so you can go pure organic and keep your yard very healthy and keep it pretty looking. So Mag-I-Cal, put that down a couple times a year, but also you want to put that down at least 2 weeks before you're planting grass seed, because that way it gives the Mag-I-Cal time to raise the pH, the soil is going to be healthier, the seed is going to germinate better, thicker, and everyone's going to be happy with it. The next product is a product called Love Your Soil. Love Your Soil is a product, I'll term it as an aerator in a bag. So you saw us using the big aerating machine, but what this does is it breaks down and decomposes clay soil into healthy topsoil. You apply this and it'll keep your soil healthy with microbes, all organic, so even if you have bunny rabbits and puppy dogs playing in the yard, the Love Your Soil and the Mag-I-Cal have no bearing because it is a totally organic product. So once again, this is something that you could do twice a year to keep that clay soil as a healthy soil, keep the yard healthy so you keep your yard pretty, but also you want to do it maybe 2 weeks before you're planting grass, because you want to give the product time to activate into the soil, decompose the soil, and make it healthy. So once again, that's why September, beginning of September, we're looking at making the yards healthy, and then end of September is when we're going to be putting that grass seed down. So the seed is going down in healthy soil, and then it's going to germinate quickly, thick, and you're going to have a beautiful yard going into the winter months, and it's going to be even more beautiful coming out of the winter into the springtime itself. So all you have to do is look out your window and you're going to see beautiful green grass on it. And then let's talk about some of the types of grass seed. There's a lot of grass seed on the market. My favorite is the Jonathan Green products. Again, Jonathan Green is a company that's over 100 years old, but they develop grass seed. They were a sod company all over the country, and that's when they got into all the different products to keep your yards healthy. but the grass seed industry, they own the industry itself. The Black Beauty Ultra, it's my favorite seed. It's a slower growing seed, but those roots after a year or so are going to be 4 feet deep. You know, not 4 inches like normal grass seed. It's going to be super deep roots. So think of this past summer when we had the drought, how healthy your yard would have been even in a drought situation, because the roots are so deep, they're finding the water deep down since there's no water on the surface itself. So you see yards that survived the drought and even stayed green, joined the drought, didn't go totally brown. That's because they would have a product, Black Beauty Ultra, because of how amazing this type of grass seed is. It's drought resistant, it's insect resistant, it's disease resistant. Yes, it is more expensive, but it's worth every penny if you like to have a green grass itself. But other seeds they have a special fall seed along with their ultra seed. They have sun seed, they have shade seed. And then you get into a seed that's really popular in this area. It's just called Penn State Mix. Penn State Mix is a blend of your rye, your fescue, your bluegrass, and it's a good seed. It's a faster growing seed, but the seed roots are only going to get about 6-8 inches deep. They're not going to get to that 4 feet deep on it. Then you get into lawn repair type of products. So say you just have a few patches, you're not doing your entire yard, you just have a couple certain areas. A lawn repair seed material is a product that is going to have seed in it, it's going to have some ground covering in it, it's going to have some fertilizer in it, it's going to have a lot of the different products in for just raking the area, putting it down, watering in, and walk away. Everything's there in one bag. It's a great product if you are just patching. It's not a product for doing entire yards with. You're looking at the seeds if you're overseeing an entire yard, or if you have dirt and you're growing from dirt and bringing the dirt up. That's when you're going to get into the bigger bags of seed, not just a lawn repair product. Now that we've put the grass seed down, what's the next step? You know, pretty simply, we want to put some food down for that seed to help it germinate and help it grow quicker and thicker. A couple ones on the market. Jonathan Green makes their own starter type fertilizer, and this is a fertilizer that's low in nitrogen, which is bad for new seed because they're too fragile, but it helps in your root building type of substance. So after you overseed your yard, or you put a whole bunch of, you're doing the dirt area or something, you want to make sure you're putting some food down. So whether it's the Jonathan Green starter fertilizer, or you can get an organic food like Milorganite itself. Milorganite, it's a totally organic food that'll help the seed germinate again, help it grow quicker, help it grow thicker on it. But now that you've put the seed down, you've put a starter fertilizer down, what are you going to do? The seed has to be covered. If you're just throwing seed on the surface, put your fertilizer on, you're going to maybe get half of it to germinate. You've got to make sure that that seed is covered. I love seeing you rake it into the soil, get a good inch of soil on top of it. That's going to insulate it, or there's products that you can put on top. I love this organic potting mix. This is called Pit Moss. This is made here in Pittsburgh, up in Ambridge. And you could check out our other show that we did on Pit Moss itself. And with that, you can see all the different nutritional value of the pit moss and what it's made out of. But this is all recycled newspaper, recycled cardboard, magazines, and it's 100% organic. So after you've raked it in, you could put a coating of pit moss on, or some people like to use straw. We have some straw here. You do not want to use hay. Hay is a weed. It's a big, big difference between straw and weed. Straw and hay. You want to make sure it's a clean straw that you're putting down. Once again, it'll help keep erosion down and it'll help hold some water, but a lot better would be using a product like Pit Moss to hold the water in, because you have to water that seed every day. But in the fall time, we get normally a lot more rain, a lot more moisture, a lot cooler temperature, so the seed likes to germinate itself. All right, last thing I want to talk about is fertilizer, chemical-based fertilizer. We've talked about what the organic products do to the soil to make it healthy, but one thing to remember, that a healthy soil also helps fertilizers work better. If you have that low pH, that pH again in that 3.5, you're only utilizing half of the amount of chemical in a bag of fertilizer itself. So healthy soil, you get that pH at that 6.5 mark. You're also going to have a lot more of the fertilizer working in the bag itself. So a lot of times if your yard survived the summer, it survived the drought, you don't need to aerate, you don't need to thatch, you don't need to overseed, you just need to put down a lawn food itself. So this is one of our winter survival products from Jonathan Green. This is a straight food. This is going to make it green, but also make the seed healthier, the roots healthier, and so forth of the grass once it is growing. Now, you cannot use a product like this when you're planting brand new seed. Seed is too fragile. This is too much nitrogen. You'll burn it and that seed will never germinate. So this is if you're not overseeding, this is a product that you could put down over top of the entire yard. If you are seeding seed, you have to wait till the seed germinates. You cut the grass at least once, twice would be better, and then you could go ahead and overseed. So maybe this is something that you can put off until the end of November, early December, to really give that grass seed a shot in the arm to prepare for those cold winter months itself. The one thing I don't like seeing is using weed and feeds in the fall time. A weed and feed to me is a waste of money. You are only killing weeds that are growing, and how many dandelions do you have growing in the middle of fall into that November time frame, so forth? Not very many. So the fertilizer content is working great, but the weed killing content of that bag, there's nothing left to kill, because most of your weeds die over the course of the end of fall into the winter time, and they come back in spring. So use fall fertilizers like they're intended to at the end of fall, early winter, and use your weed and feeds in May when you actually have weeds to kill itself. So just another added tip of what to be doing with your yard during the fall season. Thank you again for watching BPTV. I'm your host, Andy Amrine, and this was a Handy Andy segment on what to do for the fall, taking care of that grass in yard. So remember, if you're overseeding or if you're planting grass, please use a rake. Please get that grass seed covered up. You don't want to just throw the seed on the soil itself and have it all blow away, or have it used at bird seed itself. Go buy a bag of bird seed. It's cheaper than a bag of grass seed. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you around town soon. And if you're catching our show in September, don't forget, September is Love Your Library Month. Although all 12 months you should be loving your library, but in particular, Love Your Library Month in September. Please stop by the library. Please support your library yourself and all the programming. Your library is the center of the community. Don't forget it. Support your libraries.